A fresh debate has erupted in royal circles after former royal press secretary Dickie Arbiter reportedly expressed strong concerns about Meghan Markle's ongoing use of her royal connections in public and commercial ventures. The criticism raises a question that has divided royal watchers for years. Are Prince Harry and Meghan Markle simply building independent careers, or do their projects continue to rely heavily on their royal association? Today, we're examining the claims, the context, and why this discussion continues to generate headlines around the world. Before diving into the controversy, it's worth understanding who Dickie Arbiter is and why his comments attract attention. Arbiter served as press secretary to Queen Elizabeth II and spent years working within royal communications. As a result, many royal commentators view his opinions as significant, particularly when discussing how members of the royal family manage public perception and media relations. While he no longer speaks on behalf of the palace, his observations often become part of broader discussions about royal affairs. At the heart of this debate is the argument that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry continue to benefit from their royal connections long after stepping back from official royal duties. Critics point to high-profile interviews, documentary projects, book deals, public speaking engagements, media productions. They argue that public interest in these ventures is largely tied to the couple's royal background.
For this week, helping me tackle all the biggest headlines is former royal editor for The Sun and author Duncan Larcombe, and former press secretary to the late Queen Elizabeth II and King Charles III, Dickie Arbiter. Thank you so much for being here, the both of you. Dickie, I saw this story and I thought, there's no one else I want to investigate this with. The cutest post on Instagram from Graceland, and it is a picture of a Bible. After Elvis's death, they found a Bible, actually many, I believe he was a collector of Bibles, but it says one of the more interesting discoveries upstairs at Graceland is this Good News Bible Silver Jubilee edition, produced to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the reign of Queen Elizabeth II in June 1977. Of course, you could get so many items during that time. There's all sorts of fun tat you can buy during these anniversaries, but a Bible seems like such a sweet and special trinket's the wrong word, but item to have around your home to celebrate the Queen or to remember the Queen. There's a big mystery surrounding how all of us got this. Do you know of any history between the royal family and Elvis?
There's no history between the royal family and Elvis, but Elvis was a very religious person. He was brought up in the Pentecostal church. He was a regular Bible reader. And the fact that he was sent this Bible doesn't surprise me. The Bible was produced by the American Bible Society. The idea of the Good News Bible is to translate the St. James Bible into something that is more readable in modern day English. And that would have been sent to him. There were a few other trinkets found at Gracelands. And my guess is that the American Bible Society collated a selection of gifts. So one is a bookmark with E2R on it. And my guess is that they sent it to him. You've got to remember that Elvis died in 1977, in August 1977, sort of midway through the Silver Jubilee celebrations.
Wow.
So I doubt whether he would have had time to look at it, because prior to his death in August 77, he was busy planning another tour. So he was pretty hard at it. And as we know, he died of a heart attack. So there was no royal connection. There was a suggestion by Bill Kenwright quite a few years ago. He was late Bill Kenwright, a British stage producer, that Elvis had made a one-day trip to the United Kingdom in 1958, which is totally impossible because he never had a passport, because his manager, Tom Parker, didn't have a passport because he was an illegal immigrant into the United States from Holland. And he made sure Elvis didn't have one either. And that's why Elvis never toured abroad. Elvis at the time in 58 was in the army in Germany, and he would have traveled under army papers, and he would have gone back to the US on army papers, and he wouldn't have been allowed to travel abroad.
Yeah, I think of him sometimes when I'm over there because he always said that that was a dream of his to see the United Kingdom, and I think, oh, that's so sad that Elvis never saw this. I'm saying it for him. Duncan, one of the items that they found in Graceland was this decorative tray featuring Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. It was found in the kitchen. Do you have any royal trinkets around your home?
Well, Elvis was the king, so what a
Oh, that's true.
surprise that is. Do you know, I don't. The only thing I've really kept and looked after was the order of service for William and Kate's wedding that I was lucky enough to go to, and so I keep that. I keep that safe. But no, I'm not a collector of royal memorabilia, I'm afraid. we yeah, I think that would be a little bit weird, frankly, Kinsey.
Well,
Oh, come on, Duncan. There's nothing weird about it at all. You've kept the order of service for William and Catherine's wedding in 2011. So that's memorabilia. So
yeah.
you can't deny you don't keep it.
Guilty as charged. Sorry, Dickie.
I'm gonna get you a
Guilty as
keychain,
charged.
Duncan. You're getting a keychain the next time I see you. I also, and this is I'll start with you, Dickie, but I'd also like your response, Duncan. In Spare, Harry wrote about how unimpressed he was with Graceland. And he was like, this is where Elvis lived. And as an American, the Frozen Todger stuff totally didn't negatively affect me, but the insult to Graceland, Elvis, came from a very poor family. He was self-made. He took care of his, Graceland was the home he gifted his parents. Like, it was a reflection of hard work, his loyalty, love for his family. Everyone lived there. Grandma had her own room. That's where they all congregated. I just thought it was so insulting for Harry to criticize Graceland, knowing the backstory of the hard work that was put into acquiring that home and the laughter and love that happened within those walls.
Well, Harry is not the greatest and most intelligent bunny on the planet. And I've said this many times. And quite frankly, he very rarely engages brain before he engages mouth. And to say something like that, which to the Americans, Elvis was an icon. And he was an icon to a lot of pop rock music fans. So to say that is just absolutely ridiculous. It almost sounds like attention seeking. In the hope that somebody is going to have a go at him, that he can have a go back. No, it's absolute nonsense. I don't think we should really take much notice of what Harry says.
As I asked Duncan, do you agree with Dickie, or maybe Harry's just seen too many palaces? It's hard to impress him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, Harry grew up around palaces, and obviously his expectations rather more grand than mine, But no, I agree with Dickie completely. Harry is not the sharpest tool in the toolbox, and sometimes things he says seem very off the cuff and not thought through properly.
Let's talk about the Prince and Princess of Wales. We saw the Princess of Wales today in a video circulating that broke my heart. I cried. It's this beautiful video of Catherine visiting a woman that is announcing that she's in remission, and they ring a bell.
Oh, this is your day. Yeah, this is your day. Ring that bell, girl. Come on, Claire. Come on, Claire. You've done it.
Catherine has been in this position before. She's embracing this husband, this wife. She says to the husband, I know exactly, I know that you're having a hard time too. It affects everyone. It doesn't just affect the person, with cancer. It affects the entire family. Duncan, she is such a wonderful ambassador to the royal family. And it is incredibly touching to see her be so empathetic and compassionate towards people that have suffered or are suffering from something that unfortunately she's had to experience herself. You're talking about sitting at her wedding. Did you ever think she'd be such an exquisite princess?
No, I mean, hearing you relay that, it reminds me of the historic moment when the Queen Mother, so the Queen's mum, when Buckingham Palace was bombed during the Blitz in the 1940s, she, on a visit to the East End, said, "I can now look the East End in the eye." There's an element, I think, with royals of authenticity about Kate now. And although, cancer is obviously such a terrible thing to be told you've got, actually, from Kate's point of view, it has really fed her authenticity, and she can now look other cancer patients right in the eye and know what they're feeling.
It's so devastating, Dickie, but it also is incredibly touching to witness it. And we actually saw both the King and the Princess of Wales attend their first joint cancer-focused event at St. James Palace. It was marking the 125th anniversary of cancer research in the UK. Wild that they experienced their diagnosis at the same time around 2024. And it blew the lid off of royal coverage. It blew the lid off of all of us. I mean, I think we struggled in how to navigate that story, but they are owning it. I think I really admire the way that they're handling the King's current cancer, Catherine's remission, but the way that they're sharing it with us.
I think it's heartening to cancer sufferers to know that the King, who is still having treatment, albeit on a reduced scale to what it was, and Catherine, that is in remission, can actually understand what cancer sufferers are going through. We mustn't forget the King has been involved with cancer, not personally until 2024, but he's been very much involved with the Macmillan's Cancer Support, which is a nursing service that supports cancer sufferers. He's also been a great supporter of the hospice movement that look after people who are terminally ill, and mainly they are cancer sufferers. So he's not new to it. He's been Macmillan for something like 30 years, for the hospice movement for something like 40 years. Oh. So he's coming to it with a lot of knowledge, and now, since 2024, experience as well. And to see the two of them together and operating together is heartening. Not just to see them operating, because they are able to lead a pretty normal life, if one can say having cancer is normal, but they can give heart to people who are suffering from cancer, that just because you've got it, it's not the end of the world. There is something to be done, and there's an element of self-help, but at the same time, we are there to support you. And the fact that the King and the Princess of Wales can support cancer sufferers is a tremendous breakthrough for those who are suffering from cancer.
Yeah, they give us hope and faith that things can turn around. And that is very, very true. Duncan, when you see the King and the Princess of Wales in a joint engagement, it's my understanding, and I think Harry writes about this in Spare, but it's my understanding that the King desperately wanted a daughter. Is Catherine that daughter? Is she the daughter he always wanted?
Yeah, I think Catherine is the daughter that he never had, and I mean, King Charles could not be more happy, I think, with the daughter-in-law that he's got. I mean, she's gone through this suffering, and I mean, okay, so she's in remission, but that moment, that one thing that unites people that have cancer is that moment when the doctor says you have cancer, and you don't know whether that's an immediate death sentence or something that you'll live with for the rest of your life. And that fear, that emotion, that ordeal is something that Catherine and King Charles now have in common. And I think that's just strengthened the bond between the two of them, to be honest.
I'd like to come in here. I've been around the royal traps for almost 50 years. I was there when William was born. I was there when Harry was born. I was there when Charles and Diana got married. And there was an alleged comment and I say alleged comment, that when Harry was born, Charles is alleged to have said, "Oh, another boy," indicating that he would have preferred a daughter. Now, let's make no bones about it. Every father likes the idea of having a daughter. I'm the dad of a daughter, and I couldn't think of anything nicer.
We love Victoria. We love Victoria.
That is Victorian. I think Duncan is exactly the same.
Yeah, I've got two girls, Dickie. Yeah,
but I don't think Charles would have ever said, "Oh, another boy." The fact that he had a son who was born healthy is more important than anything, whether it's a boy or a girl. And it's one of those myths that's grown.
Well, wait, Dickie, I agree with you, but I also think that Diana perpetuated this story. I think she told Andrew Morton she hid the sex of the baby from Prince Charles because she knew he wanted a girl and she was afraid he would be disappointed in the boy. But I do think that this is a myth that was perpetuated by Princess Diana to garner sympathy because she was trying to position everyone she needed in this War of the Windsors at the time. Is my timeline right?
Yeah, your timeline is absolutely right. But certainly Catherine is filling the gap as a daughter-in-law. They have a commonality, and Charles is still having treatment for cancer. Catherine is in remission for cancer. But they have a commonality. It's something they can talk about, something that can come together, and joint engagement together to give hope to people who have got cancer. And I think we need to push that myth into the sands of time, push it away. You know, Charles is a happy man. He's got two sons. One he's estranged from, one he's very close to. He's very happy. He's got a daughter-in-law that he absolutely adores. He's got grandchildren he adores. Let's move on.
Also, I think he loves Camilla's children, and I think he loves Camilla's grandchildren. I think those are his grandchildren and children too. I think that they are a close family and that they all love each other.
You're absolutely right. They're a very close-knit family. In fact, they're a closer-knit family today than when Diana was alive, because Diana, as much as I adored her and I worked with her for 5 years, she was divisive. And that's the way she operated to garner sympathy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about Diana for just a moment, because last night I was like, I'll try the Michael Jackson documentary. Fine. I'll turn on this random Michael Jackson documentary on Netflix. And lo and behold, I could not believe my eyes. So Martin Bashir was deemed too ill to participate in detailed discussions with the BBC regarding that infamous 1995 Princess Diana interview. This was during the 2020 independent investigation. We'll all remember Prince William standing at a podium, ripping into the BBC for their deceit when it came to securing this panorama interview with Princess Diana. He ultimately resigned from the BBC on health grounds, saying, I'm too sick. I can't participate in this investigation. I have to quit my job. I'm on my deathbed. Some people were like, we just watched you walking out of a restaurant with takeout, but he ignored those, he ignored those calls. Following his exit, Lord Dyson published his investigation results, concluding that Bashir used deceitful methods and forged bank statements to secure that landmark interview with Princess Diana. So I'm watching this 3-part documentary about Michael Jackson, about the 2005 Michael Jackson trial. And there's Martin Bashir looking fit as a fiddle, playing the martyr, saying, yeah, I got Michael Jackson to say this. I exposed him. It blew my mind having watched this man dodge years of accountability for the Princess Diana interview. Duncan, does it surprise you, or based on everything we've learned about Martin Bashir over the last few years, are you like, no, that tracks? Like, that tracks that he would show up when he's the hero in the Michael Jackson documentary?
Well, you mentioned your reaction to it, Kenzie. There is nobody that would have been reacted more viciously to that than Prince William, because, you know, what this interview did was Martin Bashir has been exposed, frankly, as somebody who has played on a princess's paranoia. And to be honest with you, in my experience, and I don't know if Dickie would agree with this or not, but most royals are sort of born paranoid because they never know if there's someone around them selling stories and leaking information about them to the media. So that paranoia, which we see in Prince Harry almost all the time,
Yeah.
Especially in his court cases, the reality is Diana was in a paranoid, vulnerable, very, very difficult state of mind when this guy from the BBC, of all places, preyed on that paranoia, fed that paranoia, almost confirmed that paranoia, so that he could secure an interview that no one else could get. To see him walking and talking without a proper redress, I don't think William, if you asked him if he was on this show, I don't think William would be satisfied with the outcome. That Martin Bashir has never issued a proper apology. And I just hope from William's point of view that he doesn't watch the documentary on Michael Jackson.
Dickie, there was something that really annoyed from a media perspective, because before you worked for the palace, you were a journalist as well. And that's how they kind of scooped you up, because they were like, he's a solid guy. He has morals and values and integrity. Let's get him over here. But it was interesting to me that they go into Martin Bashir's interview with Princess Diana because they say that's what made Michael Jackson comfortable in talking to him, was the fact that he'd had this relationship with Princess Diana. But because they need him to be the savior of the story, they don't go into how he secured that interview with Princess Diana and the deceit that was involved in that interview with Diana. And there are some people that say she's dead today because she calls off the security because Martin Bashir has convinced her that everybody is spying on her. From a journalistic standpoint, does that frustrate you too? Or do you go, you know what? Editing wise, I understand why that would have been a little heavy. The focus is supposed to be on Michael Jackson.
Well, I think television has got to be honest. And these days, there's a big question mark over television's honesty. I mean, you look at the Netflix series of The Crown, it was entertainment. It wasn't honest, but it was entertainment based on events of the day. And I think the Michael Jackson documentary was not honest. The fact that they used Martin Bashir, who jumped before he was pushed, there's nothing unhealthy about him, but it's amazing what money does. Money talks, and he needs it, and he needs lots of it. So Netflix came with a checkbook, and he did their bidding. But I just want to take a slight issue with Duncan here, in the nicest possible way, Duncan, that all royals are not born paranoid. Harry is somewhat paranoid in terms of the media. Diana was paranoid. You've got to remember, she came to the marriage with baggage. She never got over the fact that her mother left her when she was 6 years old. She didn't like the idea of her father remarrying because she didn't like reign. So she came to the marriage with baggage. She came to the marriage thinking that, well, I've had a rotten childhood. It's been fractured and I'm going to get married. This is going to be a fairy tale marriage and everything is going to be all hunky-dory. Well, marriages are not hunky-dory. When all the lust and the passion is worn off, they become a job. And she wasn't prepared to work at the job, which is what it's all about. So, sort of moving on, she was lured by Martin Bashir. Diana had got rid of her securities 3 years before Bashir came along. She got rid of them because they were getting too close to her. They were telling her what to do. And there's certain individuals that she got tired of. She got tired of being spied upon by them, of them perhaps reporting back, telling her what to do. She would josh with them. She would joke with them. But at the end of the day, she felt she wanted freedom. And had she not got rid of security, Scotland Yard security, she would be alive today because she wouldn't have got in that car with Dodie. She wouldn't have got in the car without being belted up. She always told me to belt up whenever I got into a car when I was on engagement with her. So, there are lots of ifs and buts, and if she had and if she hadn't, which we can't undo because you can't undo history. But the fact that Martin Bashir took part in this documentary speaks volumes about the integrity of Netflix employing somebody who had deceived an individual into an interview. You mentioned about the Dyson report. forgot to mention, and I'm sure you didn't do it intentionally, that there was a cover-up by the BBC.
Yeah.
And it was a massive cover-up by the BBC. But Netflix paid Bashir an open check, I would imagine, and Bashir did their bidding.
Yeah, well, I was surprised to see his face, and I'll be okay if I don't see it again for a very long time, unless he wants to apologize to Prince William and Prince Harry for being such a creep to their mother. Let's transition to, well, it's interesting that this story lands a day before Meghan Markle releases a new image of Lily. But Meghan Markle aide defends Instagram photos of her children because, you know, the Sussexes always complain, always explain. So Meghan Markle's spokesperson defended Meghan to Newsweek, and they spoke exclusively to Newsweek about Meghan sharing photos of her children on Instagram while simultaneously criticizing social media. And here's what they said to Newsweek. There is a distinction between sharing moments from her life and exposing her children to public scrutiny. The Duchess, come on, guys, but this is them. Of course, they're going to refer to her as the Duchess, has always been clear that there is a distinction between sharing moments from her life and exposing her children. By obscuring their faces, she is demonstrating the very principle she advocates for, giving children privacy, agency, and protection in an increasingly digital world. Far from being contradictory, by concealing their faces, she is actually reflecting the message she delivered in Geneva, that parents can choose to share family experiences while still taking deliberate steps to protect identities, privacies, and digital footprint. So then within hours, she releases this new picture of her, Harry, and Lily for Lily's birthday. Duncan, I've talked to law enforcement representatives and people that work in law enforcement that say, contrary to what Meghan is trying to convince us of, the hints at the children, the peeks at the children, the teasing of the children could in fact risk or increase the risk of predators that become fixated on seeing the children, on their, what do they look like? I'm obsessed with figuring out what they look like. That her behavior might actually be attracting some very unsavory characters. Do you have an opinion about that?
Well, I mean, we're talking about Meghan here, and do as I say, not as I do. You know, I mean, this is another example, frankly, of her rank hypocrisy, going to Switzerland to talk about child safety online and then a few days later issuing pictures of her own children. It doesn't matter whether you can see their faces or not. The fact is she's using those to build her brand whilst telling the rest of us that we shouldn't use our children, or you should be cautious if we did. Now, I don't buy the explanation from her people, because I just think it's rank hypocrisy. I think that people are fed up with being told what they should do, what they should think, how they should act, just because Meghan's expressed an opinion, when she goes and completely undermines that by why release any images? You know, why release any images of her children, whether it's the backs of their heads or not? She's just cashing in on yet more. Sorry, I always come on your show and I'm always so critical of Meghan.
It's
and
okay. The audience loves you. Okay.
But she loads the gun and we pull the trigger. It's just daft.
Dickie, would you explain, never complain, never explain to the audience, and why there is such strength in that strategy?
The strength in that strategy, that if you complain about everything that is written about you, everything that is said about you, everything that is published about you, you fall into a trap where if what is published, said, or written, whatever, is wrong, the question comes back, well, okay, if that's wrong, what is right? And it puts self-perpetuating and it never ends. It's a bit like social media. If you start correcting social media, then you will have to employ an army of people to monitor social media to correct it. So never complain, never explain. is the answer to that. Duncan is absolutely right when he talks about Meghan's hypocrisy. I mean, what was published in Newsweek sounds like the gospel according to St. Meghan. There's no other way of putting it, and he's right. Do as I say, not as I do. I don't know why anybody takes so much notice of Meghan. She is a nobody. She is an actress from a soap who was written out of a soap that eventually came to an end. Hollywood wasn't galloping to her front door to offer her parts. They're still not offering her parts, even though now she's a duchess. If you want to be a duchess, behave like a duchess and earn the title. As far as I'm concerned, she's still Mrs. Sussex and she's not the Duchess of Sussex.
Oh, I still call her Meghan Markle, and I will forever call her Meghan Markle. But I will reprimand people that don't call Catherine the Princess of Wales. She is our Princess of Wales.
I wish you both stopped sitting on the fence like this.
Duncan, I think that on one of the main issues that people have with the sharing images of the children too are the commercialization aspect. For a while, she had on her Shop My page, you could buy some of her children's clothing and she would get a percentage of that. She has since removed that because she's now promoting a new AI app where they were posting pictures of her and strangers' children that had cancer, saying, buy this outfit where Meghan's wearing in Australia. I can't even believe I'm saying that out loud. But, then having the kids in the kitchen with her, trying to allude to the fact that potentially you're buying jam from Meghan Markle that was made in the kitchen by her and her children. Mm-hmm. Does it take it to a whole other level? Yes, there is a safety component here. We should all be conscious of exposing children to the internet too soon, or their images being utilized through AI and things like that. There are some very serious technical issues that need to be observed, but it's the fact that she is often utilizing her children to make a buck that I think really ticks people off, because you've insisted these children have titles. You guys aren't doing anything, as Dickie pointed out, to earn those titles. It just feels yucky.
Yucky's a good way of putting it, Kinsey. Yeah, I mean, the more we learn about Meghan Markle, the more we realize that she doesn't get out of bed unless there's some sort of profit to be made or money to earn. And she'll use her children ruthlessly, just like she's used her husband incredibly ruthlessly, and the royal family ruthlessly, to build her brand, build her image, get her truth across. And I can't help but say it, but I think the publics in America and in the UK see right through it, and they're sick to the back teeth of the woman.
Dickie, might that be why they're having to go to Australia and they're going to all of these different places, because we are checked out?
Yeah, but come on, look at Australia. They were charging something like £1,800 just to be in the hall with them.
Yeah, but a lot of those tickets went unsold.
Yeah, and they had to reduce ticket prices for Harry's non-speech. But when you talk about hypocrisy, if you're so concerned about the anonymity of your children, don't photograph them and don't put them online. And if you want to photograph them, put them in an album, keep them on your phone, keep them on your computer, but don't put them online. It's no good putting them online and then expecting anonymity, because it just ain't going to happen.
Sorry, Duncan, last question to you. You've spent some time with Prince Harry. I know we've all established that he's a moron, but he must see the hypocrisy here. He must feel uncomfortable with some of the sharing, in my opinion. I'd love to know, based on your observations of Harry, growing up, and our conversation about media paranoia in general, this can't be a comfortable space for him to have his wife randomly uploading photos and with an ulterior motive at the end of the day.
Kinsey, the only way I can answer that is to say that when Meghan was growing up, she dreamed of Hollywood stardom and being a big person on a big stage. When Harry was growing up, he dreamed of being anonymous and not recognized everywhere he goes. The reality is, and it's painful to watch it from someone that's dealt with Harry since he was a teenager, Meghan is living her dream. Harry is living his nightmare, and that's the only way I can really answer that question.
Yeah,
I think it's a nightmare living with the dream.
yeah. Yeah, because Dickie, we've seen Prince Harry alone twice in the last week. He was in downtown LA at a party for Jose Andres, which I couldn't believe Meghan wouldn't elbow her way into. She wants us to believe that she's America's favorite chef, with Love Meghan. And then he was at a polo field this week riding solo. And I'm just like, well, that's interesting. I've also heard Meghan loathes polo, but so I'm not surprised that he's by himself on a polo field, but
Yeah,
it is a little startling.
yeah, it is interesting. It is a bit startling. There are things that that Meghan does. There are things that she will do on her own. She won't bring Harry in. Things like polo, she's not interested. She's a spare part, and Meghan is never a spare part in anything. She wants to be number one. She wants to be number 100. She wants to be number one right through to a million. She wants to be the only one. Unfortunately, the world is going to come crashing down on her one of these days, because people have been seeing through her for a long time. And until such time that the media, whether it's in the UK or the USA, decide enough is enough, she is going to carry on in very much the same vein as she has been carrying on since she got married in 2018. And it's just not going to stop there until everybody stops reporting what she says, everything she does, flicking her hair, photographing the backs of her children, whatever, playing the chef in somebody else's kitchen, not hers. People are just going to, carry on watching. Need to stop it.